Hey guys, Rocket here. Today we're going to talk about Reddit, and we're going to talk about why it seems like a lot of content is missing from Reddit this morning. And I can tell you it's not due to a site-wide outage. It's not due to some crazy policies put in effect. This is a protest against Reddit itself from subreddits. So let's break down why this is happening, okay? So it is happening because Reddit has decided as a company that they are going to start charging third-party applications to use their API data. Now, Reddit argues that they're not profitable, which maybe they're not. Maybe they're not profitable. And they are arguing that to solve this issue, we are going to start charging for API data. Now, if you're not familiar with an API is, let me just give you a brief summary of it. It's basically like a web page for computers, not for humans. So when you query API data, and I know that, everyone by this point, I feel like they've heard about like the term API, but they don't maybe not understand what it is. So basically I put in a web request, right? And so in my code, I'm typing in and I say, I want to get this data, right? That data lives on some website somewhere, or internally if you're building an enterprise app. But when you're interfacing with other businesses, it's usually some web endpoint. So I'm going to go grab that data, and it's usually going to come back in today's age. It's all JSON. It used to be XML, and it was terrible. But in today's age, it's all JSON. And so you're going to reach out, and you're going to grab that data, and then you're going to pull it back down. Now, a lot of companies have a lot of different business models on how they think this should work. So most companies, when I work with API data, most companies, you pay an upfront fee if you need to pull that data. If it's a smaller company or more like niche company, usually that's how it works. You obtain a license. Now, if you are a company like Google, then you usually have a certain allotment before you start getting charged, and then you are charged after that. So, if you've worked with Google API data before, you're very familiar with that, depending on what platform and what app within Google you're accessing. Now, but to come out, this is the thing, to come out as Reddit in 2023 and just say, no, just for third-party applications, we're going to start charging for API data that used to be free. I mean, that is huge. That is absolutely huge. I mean, Reddit is one of the most prominent communities and one of the most active communities on social media in today's age, I feel like. And to come out and say that like all of these third-party apps that have been built upon Reddit because they were improvements, in my opinion, to Reddit, are now going to be virtually shut down. And so one of the biggest, companies impacted by this is Apollo. And they really don't have a business model to save them from this. And I think that's where most of this outrage comes from, and from the AMA that, Steve Hoffman did with everyone. Because they should have just never done that. But anyway, so the argument, if you are wondering today, is, and the protest that's going on right now is due to Reddit charging for API data now. And, there is a 30-day grace period in for developers, which is great. But I also feel like just the way that Reddit went about this, because they could have gone about this in a much different way, right? And they could have made some concessions, I feel like, to some of the third-party players that were already in there. Maybe they were grandfathered in or something like that, right? But I mean, to just come flat out and say, no, we're going to kill all of your businesses because you guys aren't going to be able to support it once we start charging. And Apollo is a great example, right? $20 million it would cost Apollo. $20 million. And it's like that app does not make that much money, and it is built to be free on purpose, right? So I'm very upset with Reddit right now. I think that it's a really low blow, especially for people that are already using that API data for free, and to come out and just start charging. And for example, take a company like Apollo from, net zero in that expense all the way up to $20 million. Come on, Reddit. Yes, you guys are not profitable, but you guys also have a lot of other avenues to increase profitability, like with ads or like with, getting off of your shitty framework that you're using now. There's so many other ways to reduce costs in a company than to just start charging for API data. And I understand, right? That's a lot of data requests. I completely understand. That's a lot of requests coming in and out. And if you're cloud hosted, like Reddit surely is, that's a lot of data that's going in and out. And I'm sure it probably is equivalent to 20, 30, $40 million that you're pulling out of there. But you made the promise from the beginning that it was going to be free. And so, like, don't do a tiered structure. It shouldn't just be black and white. I don't understand the whole stance on it has to be this and it has to be now, and everyone's going to comply or they're going to crash. And it's like, they're already going to crash and you just want them to fail. Like, I really feel like Reddit is like just wanting these other third-party apps to just fail, so Reddit becomes, solid, and it not solid. It becomes the one and only. There are no other third-party extensions. You have to go there to get that information. So that's kind of the angle I see Steve Hoffman trying to pitch, but just the way that he's going about it, it's just so rude and ignorant. And I don't understand. I just don't understand why all the hostility towards people that support your own platform and literally basically fork your platform to make it better. And then you are all hostile about it. Like, just wild, just absolutely wild to treat, your user and your customer base like that. So anyway, I just wanted to give an update on this because I think it is really interesting to see, such a large protest going on social media right now. All still interesting based on my last video back to, Facebook announcing they're working on a Twitter replacement, a Twitter 2.0 kind of fight. And then now this, it's just social media seems to be churning right now more than usual. So at least on the app development and the tech side. So, all right, guys. Well, until next time, this is Rocket and I will see you later.